4 rounds to go in this exciting WRLD season. We have new championship leaders. Paradox Sim Racing overtake the Talent Factory, and they are racing in just a few short moments. Good evening then, ladies and gentlemen across the world. Welcome aboard to WOR. This is the Legacy Division. It is myself, Jota, alongside you once again with the other James himself. It's going to be a very interesting event ahead of us here in WRLD. I'm looking forward to being alongside you for this one because we're at the Bahrain Grand Prix. 4 rounds to go. New championship leaders.
Yeah, new championship leaders indeed. Good evening, everyone. Hope you are doing very well on this fine Friday evening. As you mentioned there, of course, Jota, Paradox Sim Racing taking the lead for the first time all season. 272 points to their name. Talent Factory in second on 264. It is going to be so close, I think, between them both. Honestly, I think it's going to really define, and this race, I think, certainly in Bahrain, is going to define what is going to happen for the rest of the season.
I mean, exactly. Talent Factory have been rather inconsistent, to say the least, throughout the season, and, you know, managed to really kick it off, and then towards the middle part of this season just being outraced and outplayed by the Paradox Sim Racing team, now going ahead in the championship for what is going to make for a very spicy affair. Outplayed Racing behind on 160, of course, are still battling their way to try and get third spot with their little battle. They've got to watch over and behind them because Visceral Racing and the Team Jizu racing close proximity as well, 107 and 103 apiece. Nexus on at 73, and then towards the back, Juventus, WOR, Valor and the Summit League Racing team is going to make for a very interesting affair, I think, especially going into what has been a very long break. Challengers has been a fun watch, and we are now going straight back into some league action in the Bahrain Grand Prix with all of the drivers now heading out in Q1.
Yeah, definitely so. Mubarak, I believe, is the first man out on track in the Alpha Tauri. He's gone into the set of intermediate compound tyres, as one would expect, I think, in this qualifying session. But yeah, we have been missing 2 weeks, one because of a transfer window, and then the other because of Challengers starting up as well. I have got a couple of Challengers guys here. Blackbox, who I messaged just before coming live as well, he was saying that he hasn't done much practice for this event. He hopes, though, that the Challengers practice for Bahrain is enough to see him through tonight and hopefully get Talent Factory on. But that could be a concerning thing if you're a Talent Factory supporter, because if Blackbox hasn't been practicing as much as what the team would have hoped for, that might just put them on the back foot again.
Yeah, absolutely. So they've got to think tactically now, of course, with that transfer window all done and dusted, everyone now reset now to the end of the season. And that's to give everyone at least that's a little bit more of a fresh breeze now as we go into the final few rounds of this championship. PSR hoping to take a championship that they couldn't take last season, so they'll at least get the clean sweep at least 1 round later, or 1 year later than they anticipated. But they, of course, have still got to battle hard with the likes of the Talent Factory. Rudy, as well, has had a particularly good season, to be fair, Rudy, as well. I think him has been sort of one to watch over on the PlayStation platform, and he's never going to be giving up in and around this one. Has just gone board with Dan Screen for Team WOR.
Yeah, Dan Screen for WOR. He's on that set of soft compound tyres. He's the first one actually out there on a set of soft compound tyres. He told me in the chat beforehand, don't make fun of him. He has practiced less for this than he has done for WR Tier 1 last season. So I'm not going to make fun of him whatsoever. He is a very consistent driver on his day, is what I will say. And WR really do need to point out from somewhere. Of course, we've got PSR Smokey back in as well. He's on a lap as well on a side of intermediates coming through the middle sector. But Dan Screen now just starting up on his lap in towards turn 1. We should be expecting to round the 127s, 128, I think, at the start of Q1 as he goes a bit deep there in towards turn 1. Because Dan Screen, in fact, so deep in turn 1, he's already backed off his lap as Mubarak goes quickest with 32 flat. Normally about a 4 seconds differentiation between intermediates and softs around here. So that means Mubarak, that time, inevitably is going to improve towards the 27s.
Yeah, of course, we've got PSR Smokey now coming across the line. In fact, no, tell a lie, he's now coming into the pit lane to get off of those intermediate tyres that everyone, no doubt, will not be using at a circuit like this one in the middle of the desert. It's very rare we do see rainfall, and it has happened before, of course, but Doesn't look like it's going to be happening tonight on this clear dusk evening now in this qualifying session. And Bahrain has got Chude also on the intermediate tyre. He will be setting initial lap time as he comes across the line. And what would be an invalidated 1:33.6. That's the team in VSR looking to continue up the motions if they can help it. They'd love, alongside Team Shizou, to try and battle out for third place. And they're still in there. So we've got TV8's Allison coming across the line 1:31.8. You know, it'd be really, really awesome for the team to sort of challenge for P3 at the moment, but the question is going to be on the minds of those in 4th and 5th place. Is third out of sight? Nearest points tally at the moment is 23.
Yeah, nearest points tally is 23. I mean, VSR 107, Shizou there 103. I think VSR's main battle, certainly from 2D's perspective, is that battle for 4th position. Third looks out of reach. Outplayed Racing look like they're dominating affairs. 160 points to their name. I've just seen them in the chat there as well, so hope they're having a good night potentially in terms of both their drivers, Asacom and Mubarak, who are going on laps very soon. But yeah, VSR in 4th. They were talked about as being one of the go-to teams as Tom goes quickest with a 31.792, so about 15 hundredths of a second quicker than Allison. But VSR, certainly from the PS side, I know in the past, they've had very, very strong drivers. Now most of them are transitioning over to PC and, of course, transitioning to crossplay between Xbox and PS. They were one of the teams that I was very excited about in Legacy Division. Saw them sign up and thought, they're going to absolutely blast away. They're in 4th, fighting with Shizou. It's not good enough, I think, from their perspective. 2D, though, coming through the final couple of corners. In fact, he's coming back in the pit lane, so that is how much I've waffled on in terms of this lap. 2D, though, back in the pit lane. I think there's only Dan's screen that's actually out there on a valid or an invalid lap at this stage. Everyone else is in the pit lane with 11 minutes to go. 11 minutes to go.
Yeah, so plenty of time still out there at the moment to get the drivers out on the field, and looks like to me people are just waiting before they decide to go out there and really, really push the cars, as we've actually, as you rightfully point out, only got the 2 drivers out on the field then, which gives us a very brief opportunity actually, as we get Tom going into a real big tank slapper as he goes for a big spin, and the Team Shizou driver will be happy he's managed to get himself fastest so far, but that intermediate tyre not very good in the dry, is it, my friend? He'll be darting into the pits to get a set of dries on soon again, gets another tank slapper, very well caught. As it goes again, you can see there, so it's obviously overheated the rear tyres now, and he'll be careful not to really, really take the mick a little bit with the car, because if that snaps out, he's going to end up hitting a pretty hard wall on that right-hand side, and he's got to be careful as well going into the pit lane, because the pit lane entry does tend to get a little bit close here as well if you end up getting that one wrong. In he comes then, so Team Shizou 131.792. Leading the way of those of the set of lap, all 4 actually on that intermediate tyre, except Dan Spreen, of course, who sets a little bit of a lap time outside of what we'd expect. Big up as well, PSR Kai, who sits in 6th place at the moment as well, correct me if I'm wrong. New driver that for PSR, isn't it?
I believe so. I've seen Kai in console tier 1. I think the final round of the championship where Ryan Jacobs was due to be alongside Gareth, of course, and I had to fill in. Kai was alongside there, so he's actually a new part of the PSR team, of course, alongside console tier 1 champion Smokey down there in 20th at the minute. Fezzo is now on an outlap. We are beginning to see drivers now begin to set their sort of soft compound tyres, go out on outlaps, go for their set of softs. They could do more than one lap potentially as well and keep a fresh set of softs before for Q2 or Q3. And remember, if you're brand new to Formula 1, which I know half of you are, but the bottom 5 basically go out in this session in Q1. In Q2, exactly the same thing, and then we're left with 10 fastest drivers as Zinity is back in the session. Didn't even see him leave. Zinity is back in the session. Fezzo, Mubarak, and Francesco, though, are on outlaps at this stage. Hope everyone is doing well in the comment section. I can see plenty of support there as well. Crispy in the chat, hashtag outplayed racing. Bit of a turncoat there from Crispy's perspective. Liam in the chat saying PSR. And he actually told me as well, if he knew that I was commentating, he would have put Johan in the car. So that's a very interesting line from Liam.
Just keeping an eye out on Fezzo at the moment. So Juventus Racing driver in the Haas is wearing his fish hat, the fish helmet, which I think has become quite an avid favourite among some of the racers in this community. He chucks the car through that right hander, that rear end stepping out ever so slightly, but on his merry way he will go. And he goes down towards that turn 1 where we're expecting, I think, a lot of the racing to be happening. I think down this main straight going into turn 1 is where we're expecting the hot spots for the Bahrain Grand Prix later on. Goes into turn 1, misses the apex ever so slightly, but doesn't look like he's really too confident on the throttle here. I'm wondering if he's prioritising maybe that lower downforce setup. Maybe Juventus deciding they want to focus around the first and third sectors.
Yeah, looking that way through the first sector, a bit snappy there coming out of turn number 4, 28.3 in the first sector. It's not really where you expect to be, I think, for first lap around here. It should be around 27.9s, 27.8. So Vezzo struggling on this lap so far. Might be a bit of an inside lap. He's not really using up much ERS, I've got to say, in this middle sector either. He's got still about 50% on the battery left. In towards this very tight double left-hander turns 9 and 10. Now down the old GP2 pit straight. On the right-hand side was the old GP2 pit lane back in 2014 and 2015. Fezzo, though, coming in toward the left-hander now of turn number 11. And this will look a pretty good lap, actually, from Fezzo. Not going to be lightning quick. He's not going to absolutely blister in terms of the times here. But he will go quicker than Tom. And it's a 106.3 in the middle sector, which is not too bad. It's exactly what you expect for a first lap around here. As soon as I say that, he snaps coming out of turn 13 and nearly invalidates.
Yeah, he gets a bucket load of understeer actually going through that corner, and then gets a bucket load of oversteer coming out of it. So again, look at that. Again, he's just not confident at all in that car. So it will not be a particularly quick lap time. It's a 28.1. But we are expecting perhaps just that little bit better from the Juventus Racing driver. Francesco, on the other hand, looking fairly okay. Second sector, actually quite the compromise, actually. Looking at the first sector lap times, not as quick. In fact, just equally as quick as Fezzo, but his second sector looking just as good. So he comes across the line and tries to improve on his teammates' lap time, but doesn't improve in the third sector, actually. Quite a long way off. By about 4 or 5 tenths in that third sector, ends up going 2.5, or about just a little bit under 2 tenths down, actually, on that occasion. So we'll keep an eye out on some other drivers around the field. PSR Smokey also on a lap himself as well. Just starting that third sector, going to be an important lap here. How has PSR dealt with the little break? Of course, a lot of their drivers involved in Challengers action as well over the last couple of weeks. Allison coming across the line goes fastest. Shazoo comes fastest with Harry, and Smokey comes across the line and only goes third fastest. 28.1 for the PSR driver, so perhaps not particularly on the throttle there from the PSR driver. Shazoo goes 1 and 2 in this Q1 session, actually, as Articone comes across the line. Outplayed racing, as to be expected from the PlayStation driver. He goes second fastest and makes it a PlayStation 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, which I'm a bit smug about, to be honest, sitting in the commentary box with 6 minutes to go in the session. Allison, by the way, in fourth position. I think he's been one of the absolute limelights, I think, in terms of Legacy Division so far this season. The Team Valorman has done a fantastic job. He's there in fourth position. I'm on board with Rudy in the middle sector, and Rudy is lightning quick in this middle sector. If you thought Tom was around a 106.3 in that middle sector, well, Rudy's just gone 2 tenths quicker than that. 106.1 in the middle sector. Should be going around Harry sort of area, I think, maybe in terms of provisional pole, as he now comes through the final corner, on the run to the line to the Talent Factory man, and he goes quickest, 27.8, and he's 700 clear of Harry. And now it's PS 1, 2, 3, 4 with Zenity going there in fifth as well for NRX, and Kai now splits the pair, unfortunately, for in P3, the PSL man, with a 27.9. I was getting smug, and then he just rimmed it.
Yeah, Kai straight in there, of course, with that third place so far as it stands. Smokey looking a little bit down the order here, but the thing is so is Black Box as well. Talent Factory, again, their drivers split by quite a long way, and Black Box will be looking to get through to Q3 as it stands with that one. It is only Q1, so he would be through no matter what, but they'd just be monitoring that one, will be the Talent Factory. I think PSR will be as well with Smokey. And while we're mentioning that was happening, by the way, Tudy for VSR went 7th fastest, so exactly 1,000th of a second faster than TV8's Allison. So incredibly quick stuff, because if you look in front of Tudy, Zenity is only 2,000ths of a second faster than him. So we've got 3,000ths of a second, separating 6th, 7th and 8th.
Yeah, and I mean, look at from Tom as well, all the way down to Mubarak. There's about a 10th of a second covering 5th to 12th, and I don't think I've ever seen around Bahrain 7 drivers on a 128.1, which is absolutely remarkable. It just comes to show the closeness of the racing. Tamino there in the chat saying, why am I watching? Or what am I watching, potentially, that could be. Legacy Division WOR, it is myself and Jota taking through the action. Rudy, Harry, Kai currently in the top 3. Legacy Division, if you are new, is a team event, so it is team-based. 2 drivers for each team. 20 cars out on track, and currently, as it stands, PSR lead the way in the standings on 272, Talent Factory in second on 264, Outplayed Racing in third on 160. We'll run through, I'm sure, the full standings very soon indeed, but everyone's back in the pit lane, apart from Dan Spreen, actually, who's out there on a lap. He's actually not gone for a proper lap here, but he just wants to try and get a bit of an inside lap and maybe go for one final run towards the end of the session. He's now back in the pit lane, which means I think we can now go through those championship standings.
Yeah, he was 2.5 seconds up, actually, on that out lap, if you will, so just shows how off the pace he was on that particular occasion. I promise I am not taking the mick out of you, Dan. You may have got James not to take the mick. I promise I'm not doing the same. Let's take a quick look at those standings, actually, for those that are just joining us. We have been away, of course, for a few weeks, where we had the season week break, and then, of course, we had the Challengers Series, which enforced us to have another week off. So here's your standings as it is. Paradox Sim Racing actually takes the lead of the championship for the first time this season, with 4 rounds to go on 272. You'd expect to see them in the McLarens. Talent Factory on 264. They're in the Ferraris, with Outplayed Racing in the Alpha Tauri. They're on 160. They're looking over the shoulders from Visceral Racing, who are in the they're in the Mercedes, with Team Shizua in the Alpine on 103. That battle for third place actually is going to be a pretty important battle, of course, because there is quite a big chunk of points there, 53 points separating Visceral from Outplayed Racing. So they'll be hoping perhaps that third is in sight, but there's a possibility that it may not be. So they'll be concentrating on their efforts against Team Shizua. Nexus as well. We expected big things from NRX this season, but 6th place as it stands, and yet to break the century mark on 73, and they're in a bit of a no man's land, because behind them, Juventus on 32, WOR on 31. Juventus are in the Haas, by the way, with WOR in the Alfa Romeo. Team Valor in the Red Bull on 30, and then Summit Racing Team in the Williams on 20 points. So, you know, very, very much still up for grabs, first and second. Third may be scrapped up, we'll have to see. Fourth and fifth, though, very tight.
Yeah, and given how Shizua are currently, second and fifth currently in the session, I think that is going to bring them maybe into that fight for P3. I mean, it's Q1, it's very early on indeed. But these drivers now do have to get their laps in. I mean, we've got Elite Risk and Francesco, 14th and 15th, separated by 1,000th of a second. That is how close we are talking about. That could be the thin margins between you getting through into Q2 and you going out in Q1. And Francesco is one of the first, actually, just to start up on a lap. The Juventus Racing man in towards the right hand of turn number 4. His first sector actually hasn't looked too bad. It was nice and neat coming out through the first couple of corners. 300s up on his lap, riding the curbs much neater, much tidier actually through 7 and 8 and towards the right hand of turn number 8. In fact, of course, where Lance Stroll back in the day famously was hanging like a cow upside down in 2021. Francesco now comes in toward the left hand of turn 9 and 10. But so far, it's not been a good lap. It's been a good lap so far from Francesco. Whether it's not to get him into Q2, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I'll talk about Francesco. Just behind him as well is SLR's their secret agent in Elite Risks. He has been basically the front runner of their entire team and managed to get SLR, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, the only podium that they acquired this season at Belgium. It was absolutely astonishing drive from Elite Risks, and a very quick drive. And we were saying earlier on in the season that, you know, he'd be a driver that I think the Xbox teams would want to potentially poach from a team like SLR, so it'd be very wise of SLR to keep him on board. They have done throughout the entire season. They will continue to race with them. As he goes from 15th fastest, he stays 15th fastest, and he does get through to Q2 as it stands, but only just. And we've got some really quick drivers, including M Racer down in 17th place at the moment as well, and he's just on a lap as well. So Elite Risk definitely at risk, as we just keep an eye out on other drivers around the field as well. We've got a Talent Factory driver in Black Box who's actually gone purple in the second sector, despite being 11th fastest at the moment. I did say that he would be at risk in Q3 as it stands, well, for the Q3 rather, as he goes through that final corner now. Going to be an important event here for Black Box, because he wants to try and get as close as he can to Rudy and show Talent Factory's teamwork between the two. Goes 4th fastest and manages to find 3,000ths of a second on PSR Kai. Goes in front of Juventus Racing's Fezzo. We've got other people around the field as well, as Diogo Silva looking to improve for WOR. 19th place at the foot of the table. Of WOR will be able to get off of the foot. They will. They're through to Q2 as it stands, with Diogo Silva managing to get to 12th fastest. Dan Spreen also looking to try and improve, and he's 8 seconds up on the fastest lap as M Racer manages to get through to Q2. He's 7th fastest and knocks both of the SLR drivers now out of the standings. His teammate, Elite Risks, actually Nigel, managing to get through to Q2, managing to beat his teammate rather in 18th fastest. LeGriff looking to also improve as well. He's just coming around the final corner, but first it will be Dan Spreen. No practice at all, he says, comes across the line, and it shows, unfortunately. He stays at the foot of the table in 20th place. Elite Risks looking to improve, he cannot do so. He remains where he is. LeGriff also not improving, as Francesco doesn't look like he's improving either. We've got our bottom 5 knocked out, and it looks like Josh Gill has just managed to get through himself for TV8 by the skin of his teeth, by less, by the looks of things, than 2/10 or 200ths of a second.
Yeah, 14 hundredths of a second is the difference between Q1 and Q2. McGriff only 4,000th of a second off as well. Nigel, unfortunately, out of the session. He improved and actually dropped his teammate into the drop zone. So SLR, very disappointing, I think. I know for a fine fact they will be 18th and 19th. They can try and claw something back in the race. Dan Spreen there in 20th. You can tell that practice was not there for him. But Diogo Silva actually into Q2. Very, very good, actually, from Diogo Silva. They're in 13th position. WOR will be happy that they get at least one of their drivers through into Q2, but it is Rudy, Harry, Kai, Black Box, and Fezzo, the top 5. And Fezzo, actually, along with Francesco, being the real shocks there, I think, in that qualifying session. Fezzo there in 5th. Francesco just about scraping through by the skin of his teeth. Oh, sorry, actually in 16th, nearly got through by the skin of his teeth.
Yeah, the top 15, and then those that got through separated by 0.414 seconds in the end, and then 16th knocked out by those 14,000ths of a second. Francesco, LeGriff, Nagrel, Elite Risks, and Dan Spreen are out of Q1 through to Q2. Will be an incredible lineup of drivers. One thing is for certain though, PSR will be looking over their shoulders. They've got a big gap forming between Kai and between Smokey. They want to close that one up heading into Q2. We're back in just a few short moments. So here we go then, the next round of qualifying just about coming up then, and certainly PSR are going to be looking over their shoulders after that one.
Managing to get into Q2, I think fantastic, I think, from their perspective. The real shock, as I was literally alluding to there, we had, 3 drivers, I think it was Allison, Toody, and somebody else, separated all by 1,000th of a second in that qualifying session. That could be the difference, as I mentioned, between Q1 and Q2. It's going to be fantastic regardless. Now it's Q2. This is the first chance we really get to see what these drivers can set around here in Bahrain. Should be a fascinating qualifying session. And I would not be surprised if there's a shock in this qualifying.
Yeah, the one thing that I loved about Q2 originally actually was the fact we get to see what tyre strategies people were deciding. Of course, that has now gone. And will be gone for the foreseeable, of course. Everyone now are able to use just the soft tyres all the way from start to finish. So all of these drivers, of course, will be wanting to save soft tyres as well. So who's going to be on a used set of softs in this occasion, I wonder. Of course, going into Q3, everyone will have another set of soft tyres at their disposal. Their Q3 soft sets, which will only be used for Q3. After that, they have to hand them back. So all of these drivers are going to be out there now, deciding where they want to go. Leading the front of the pack, there will be Outplayed Racing's, I believe that's Assicombe at the front then, who is leading away. Oh, pardon me, sorry, that's not Assicombe, it's actually Mubarak at the front of the queue. So very keen to get going, as is very characteristic actually of Outplayed Racing this season. They always seem to be the ones that just want to get on with it and go.
Yeah, they're always the same. They're always the same. Mubarak, no different. Mubarak, by the way, actually started his career off in certainly this season in PSGL. He actually did PSGL F3. Got promoted because he was so quick. This man as well is the only person, I believe, on the grid that is actually on controller as well, which is absolutely fantastic. Should be rewarded. He is doing it for us gang, the controller gang, as Mubarak now comes down in towards turn number 1. Would not be surprised if he does make it through into Q3. He has improved leaps and bounds over recent months. OP should be very proud of him. I'm very proud of him as he now goes in towards turn 1. I'm not proud of him with that lock-up, though, in towards turn 1.
Yeah, I mean, that's commentator's curse 101, that one. Say you're proud of him, and he absolutely bottles turn 1. That was a massive overspeed going into the corner and just did not have that grip going into turn 1. And I suspect one would suspect he'd want to look after that set of tyres that he's currently got and maybe just have a second outlap on this occasion. Shazoo Harry at one point going fastest of anyone in Q1. In the end, managed to sneak through into Q2, no problem at all. And he'll be now heading into turn number 3 with the hope that Shazoo will continue on with their fine form at the moment. They've really managed to find their stride in WRLD. Probably at the bad timing, of course, with that 2-week break, but the final last 2 rounds in the past couple of occasions, Shazoo were just able to be that consistent force.
Yeah, they've done an awesome job, to be honest, and Shazoo have been widely regarded, I think, as one of the best PS teams actually out there. Tom is actually furthest on a lap. He's actually behind Mubarak on a lap at this stage. Mubarak in that middle sector, 106.8. He's on a U set. Tom in the middle sector, 106.5. I think he's on a U set, but he's going quicker, as with that mistake from Mubarak coming through the middle sector. But yeah, to be honest, the PSR boys as well, Kai, Smokey, they need to really deliver, I think, this qualifying session, Rudy and Blackbox for TF. But Shazoo have been doing a fantastic job. Harry formerly of FBR, now part of course of Shazoo. He's coming through into the final couple of corners. Tom, by the way, went quickest there with the 28.4. We are getting very, very much good lap times in at this stage as Harry now comes in towards the final couple of corners. Red fuel light is blinking, coming through the final couple of corners. The former FBR man, now part of Team Shazoo, goes to the line and doesn't go quick as he goes third. Allison splitting the pair of the Shazoo boys right now as Rudy went full Zenity there in 5th. Fantastic, as Smokey is up 106.4 in the middle sector. He's now on the run to the line. PSR look to try and put it 1-2, and he does. And that is the console Tier 1 champion right there in Bahrain. Smokey out on top, Kai in second, PSR resume as normal.
Yeah, and that's exactly what PSR wanted. They can breathe a slightly bigger sigh of relief now after their Q1 appearance. Smokey now beating Kai on this occasion, but now at least within a touching distance of each other, just a little bit under 0.3 of a second. Here comes Josh Gilly then for Team TV8, Team Valor, looking to try and improve and get it to P9 actually with a 28.879. So we'll be breathing no sighs of relief over there at the moment to the Red Bull garage. They'll be a bit concerned actually with that pace because again the difference between Gilly at the moment and Allison is about 0.4 of a second, and Allison could be actually through to Q3 with a lap time like that one, assuming of course the track evolution isn't that prominent. But unfortunately a circuit like this at night time, track evolution does become quite a prominent feature, and with off expecting of course half the drivers are actually on used tyres anyway. M-Racer then for VSR will be the first of the Mercedes boys to set a lap at the number 19 Mercedes, looking to try and get himself into the touching distance, but spins it at the penultimate corner, and that will see that lap over and done with. Chudy waited for M-Racer to get on with his lap, but unfortunately, you can see there, it looked like he was going to come into the pit lane, but he's going to proceed on anyway, and that is that. M-Racer, not the best run of form from him on that occasion.
Yeah, full marks, I think, actually, for the stylisation, I think, that he did coming through the final curve on the final corner. He's invalid on this lap, but he actually continued on. He was going to think about coming in the pit lane. The Ferrari, I believe, in Black Box was just coming in ahead of him. But what he did there, actually, was bring a delta time up for him. So he's got something to aim at going on to the final session. He was looking really quick. He was going to go around Harry, Rudy, Zenity, that sort of area, I think, in terms of that lap. So 11th position for him. Not too disheartened at all for VSR. 2D that hasn't got a lap time in. Black Box was invalidated as well early on, coming through, I think, turn 1 and 2, if I'm not mistaken. Josh Gilly's back in the pit lane as well. But Smokey out on top, Kai in second, Tom there in third. 6 minutes gone in Q2. M-Racer has just gone for another spin, coming out the left-hand of turn number 10. So those tyres, my friend, are absolutely cooked, and he needs to get on, refresh themselves and improve, hopefully.
Yeah, he is weaving on the circuit at the moment. I don't know why, because if the tyres are cooked, the last thing you want to do is warm them up even more. So perhaps he's just trying to get his bearings together, but the last thing you want to do is spend more time out on the circuit than you need to. He just needs to get back into the pits, get a new set on, and get on with it, because he's only got about 8 minutes to go, and that's probably enough for only a couple of runs at this point here, and he's going to need a couple of runs as well with that 33.8, of course, with the spin in that particular session. And don't want to interrupt his teammate either, who's just about to start his lap now, I believe. I'm just trying to see where he is on the circuit at the moment. I believe, actually, he's just in the first sector, if I'm not mistaken. So he will be getting ready for that one. Juventus Racing's Fezzo also on an outlap at the moment as well. He is the driver in danger at the moment with that 28.991, and unfortunately for him, it will be not through with a time of that particular scale, because of course we've got very quick drivers out of sort of position in Asicome, M-Racer and Chudi, who haven't really set a lap time, let's be candid, on that one. Diogo Silva as well. Don't ever discredit that WOR driver, because he had a cracking Q1. What's to stop him getting a Q3 appearance?
Yeah, definitely. So he's there down in 13th position. He's had his fair share as well in Console Tier 1 of racing as well. So he's got experience coming into tonight, which is fantastic. WOR are through with one of their drivers as well into Q2, which is pretty rare actually this season, I think, from their perspective. He is going to be one of the first to start up on a lap. JL Fezzo as well, the Juventus Racing man, is just behind him out on track. Nicholas there in the chat saying, come on Fezzo, so the support and willingness there for the JL man. 28.991, a quick point about that lap. He will improve about 6-7 tenths per second, so that should be around 28.2, 28.3 mark when he finishes the lap. And everyone who was set a lap on a set of used tyres probably put them around 4 or 5 tenths improvement, so they will be going into the 27s, I can guarantee, with this lap. Diego Silva through the first sector, 28.4 suggests to me that the track is not actually evolving as one would man expect, given the hot temperatures here in the desert.
They're not bad though, 28.4, at least he's keeping within the touching distance of those in and around 8th and 9th place at the moment, so if he can at least keep up with the pace, he might just snag himself a Q3 appearance here. Oh, turn 10 looks a little bit dodgy though, to be fair, as he now heads down that straight, heading through into turn 11. This is a pad driver's nightmare, this, because he gets the wrong setup on here. It's an easy spin out. As he goes through this corner here, goes for a little bit of a short shift, probably to avoid that. This is where that corner could become quite lethal. If you hit that curb, he avoids it quite nicely, actually. He does 106.456 for Diogo Silva, as he's now heading towards the final couple of corners. He does have that Juventus Racing driver, Fezzo, just behind him, so we're expecting improvement maybe from the driver who is going to be at risk and potentially down to 11th place at the end of this one. Then Diogo Silva with that DRS open will come across the line, looking to try and get at least a 1:28.991, goes second fastest of anyone so far, with Rezo going faster than anyone so far. Well, 1:27.7, and then Tom comes across the line with that 27.6. The new tyres working a treat. Track evolution may actually be a thing. Judy coming across the line, then will he be able to get in there? 5th place, 28.352 for him, but Diogo Silva immediately with that 28.214 goes 5th fastest, because he's just been knocked down by Allison, who comes across the line with a 27.772. We'll get there in the end. And then Mubarak comes across the line as well. Plenty of lap times coming in. Shizu second and third. Rudy goes second fastest. Kai goes fastest of anyone, as we've got another lap time coming in from Asikomi, comes across the line now, second fastest of anyone so far with a 27.6 of his own. Black Box comes across the line, and again Talent Factory are split with a 27.6 and a 27.8, but that massive gap is going to cause some real headaches, because we've got a McLaren of Smokey coming 5th fastest, and now Black Box is in danger of being knocked out of qualifying with just a little bit over 4.5 minutes to go.
He is. Black Box there in 10th position. To be honest, it's a 3.5 tenth gap that he's got between Diogo Silva and himself, so I think he'll be quite happy. He's got that buffer, but if Diego Tudi, Zinity, any of those guys improve on that 28.2, 28.3, I'm looking at Tudi in particular, because I know he's got a big lap in him. The VSR man, he's got to try and deliver every single time. Fezzel was cooking, as Hadrick mentioned there in the chat as well. He went 7th position with that lap time as well, the Juventus Racing man. Smokey there in 5th, I think, is the big shock. He set the same lap time as Rudy, actually, with that lap. So fantastic lap from Smokey. He's only a 10th of a second off Kai, and I wouldn't be complaining, but this is the console Tier 1 champion. And when you're the console Tier 1 champion, you have that added level, I think, of pressure. That added level of pressure, with him being champion in console Tier 1 this season, I think is just beginning to tell. He's in the same mold as Black Box. He's been doing esports challenges, and all of that mentalness from challenges, literally reverting back to Legacy Division here tonight, that might just be telling actually for these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just keeping a firm eye as well on the field now as they all come into the pit lane. This is going to be pretty crucial. Asicome immediately retires. He doesn't want any further part in Q2, wants to get ready for Q3. 27.616, I'll be confident that'll be through as well. Tom will be happy as well. And you know what? Despite PSR Smokey being a little bit off the pace versus Kai, the fact that the PSR will be looking at it from the perspective of the fact that their slowest driver is setting exactly the same lap times as the fastest driver of their main rivals, is going to give them a smile on their faces because they know they've got the upper hand in qualifying. Rudy wants to get straight on with it. He's come straight into the pits, straight on with a fresh set of soft tyres and wants to get going. And it looks like a Mercedes is also getting out there as well, because VSR are in massive danger of losing both of their drivers in Q2. And that's only going to help Shazoo massively in their battle, of course, for P4.
Yep, and it's Tootie, the first man who's going to be out on track on the final lap, seeing Tootie looking to try and get something out of his trade book. Now, he has set very good lap times in the past in Legacy Division this season. Same with the fact as well in Console Tier 1. He's done a fantastic job there. Whether or not Tootie can actually deliver this lap and find 0.5 of a second around a track like Bahrain, I would say is pretty impossible. But he is the man of impossibility. He can pull miracle things out of his bag, and Tootie will be hoping to try and get through. And M-Racer there as well, not really a valid lap time, and with a 33.8. He's coming out the pit lane now as well. BSR are in trouble, considering how Shazoo have got their drivers, Tom in 5th, Harry in 6th, probably already guaranteed, I think, into Q3. VSR really have to deliver now in this session. This is make or break, not only tonight, but for their championship and that pursuit for P3.
Absolutely, we're just keeping an eye out then on those drivers that get themselves ready. Looks like Judy and M-Race wants to get on with it. Judy's really driving around here, a lick of paint here, so he's properly trying to get those tyres up and running. And really give it a go here. Of course, he'll only have the one run as well. We will be the first of the drivers to set their final lap, as we'll go actually back on board with Judy as he's just coming across the line, coming down that back straight, of course, before going onto the main straight, and he'll get on with it. So misses his apex ever so slightly. That'll compromise him all the way down the straight, you know. So Judy just wants to get on with it. DRS open, and there goes the Mercedes as he gets on with it. So here he goes. He's going to be heading down in towards turn 1. Critical turn 1 here. If he misses this one up, it could end up causing a real headache for him, and he does nail it because, of course, it's all about that mindset of the lap. If you mess up turn 1, you're going to be worried about all the other corners around you. But he does get turn 1 quite well. In fact, he's a bit more conservative on that occasion. Perhaps just wants to get on with a suitable sector 1 as he goes through into the next corner, misses his apex ever so slightly, so he's going to be hesitant on the throttle to not track extend. Sets his initial lap time 28.2 in that first sector, looking initially promising for that VSR 3/10 up.
Yeah, very, very confusing first sector. I thought actually he was around a 28.4, 28.2 in the first sector from Tootie. Lightning quick. This is where he has to deliver the lap though. In this middle sector, they're quite high speed corners from this point onwards, from turn 10 in towards the right-hand return 13. So this is literally now make or break for Tootie. If he can find another 2.5 tenths, then he is cooking. Then he's got Black Box, Mubarak and Allison all under pressure. Maybe even the likes of Harry as well could be under pressure as Tootie now comes through this middle sector, right in the curve, through Car Killer Corner, 106.1. Nice. Huge in the middle sector. He's purple, 106.1. This is the big lap time incoming. Tom is retired from the session, so he is done. He wasn't out in the pit lane, so he was done anyways. But Tootie now in towards the final couple of corners, looking to try and deliver a very, very good lap time here as the man who I said is the man of impossibility coming towards the line. Does Tootie? Is he through to Q3? Maybe. 9th position, 3,000 of a second separating him and Mubarak. Mubarak 700 down out the first sector.
Yeah, M-Race is just coming around that second sector now. He's 105.9 in that second sector, so he's blisteringly quick. But unfortunately for Tootie, as Rudy goes fastest of anyone so far with a 127.510, so Talent Factory will be happy that at least they've got up there. But Shazoo Harry's beaten him straight away with a 27.488 of his own. M-Racer has got a possibility potentially putting his teammate at risk of being knocked out here. He comes across the line right now, and he has done so. He's 7th fastest, so Tootie is at risk. We've got Black Box looking to try and improve his lap. He comes across the line now, and he does go up to 9th place, and that takes Tootie and Zinity out of action. Fezzo is just through to Q3 unless he gets beaten by Mubarak.
Oh, wow.
He doesn't on this occasion. Diogo Silva is also up in the second sector by a 10.5. It's not looking sharp in that second sector. First sector not so bad though. Comes across the line. It's only 14th fastest. Fezzo was cooking, and it's delicious. He's through to Q3.
He's through to Q3 on the same lap time as well. Zinity in 11th position, 27.768, because Fezzo set that lap time after Zinity. Unfortunately, Zinity is knocked out. And I literally said, what did I say about, 15 minutes ago now? I said 1,000th of a second could come down to who gets knocked out in Q2 to Q3. That's even closer.
It wasn't even that in the end. And astonishing, we do have a driver knocked out by the fact of him setting exactly the same lap time as the person in 10th place, only a little bit later. And as such, that will be it for Zinity's qualifying session. He will start in what was known at one point as the second pole position. It's no longer that feeling anymore, thanks to the fact that this Q2 session no longer is that tyre choicing option. So 11th place it will be for Zinity, exactly the same lap time with that 27.768. Also knocked out Shudy for VSR as well. The last thing VSR needed was to lose a driver in Q2 in that battle with Shazoo. Mubarak in 13th, Diogo Silva in 14th, and Josh Gilly also out for TV8 in 15th place. Those that are through at the front, Shazoo Harry, very happy for Shazoo as they get first place in that event. Rudy, second place. Kai is third. Asicombe is fourth with Tom in fifth. Smokey a little bit down the order in sixth, though, with M Racer in seventh, Allison in eighth, and again, Black Box down the order versus his teammate with Fezzo rounding out the top 10. We're going to be in for another interesting Q3 event. We'll be back in just a few short moments. Well, there we go. We're through to Q3 then after what was a very intense Q2. In the end, we've lost one of the VSR drivers, and Talent Factory and PSR, though, separated quite a long distance on the grid. A few positions separating them, but we're monitoring that one going into Q3.
Indeed. You have to feel sorry as well for Zinity in that qualifying session, because Zinity, he did everything right in that qualifying session, but to get knocked out of a man that set a quicker lap time than him just because he was a little bit later out on track. Zinity, I know for a fine fact, is going to be fuming, but now the attention turns to the NRX strategy as well for Q3, and as well to Q3 as well. Black Box and Fezzo are the first two out. Fezzo, the man who's probably hated right now by the NRX team, is the first man out on track. Q3, though, really is now who is going to be fastest out on track. I cannot wait for this qualifying session, and I would not be surprised if everyone's separated by 0.2 per second.
Sending our big ups, of course, to Fezzo, though, because he's been absolutely fantastic to watch in this qualifying session, and it's been just able to sneak his way through, and Juventus will be so happy with their current position in the stands at the moment. They've got someone in the top 10 to try and get them some good points, of course, on the board, or give them a good opportunity to get them some good points on the board. Getting through to Q3 is so critical if they want to have that ability to think about the race strategy of those behind, as opposed to being the one thinking about those in front. And he'll be the first person to set a lap as well. Fez are very keen to get going.
Yeah, he is indeed. Down in towards turn number 1, misses the apex there slightly on the exit of turn number 1, to the left-hander of turn number 2, to the right-hander now of turn number 3, right in the curb very nicely indeed. Now the curb, I think, has been flattened actually for the F1 23 game. Of course, that is coming out on the 16th of June. If you do want to get it, of course, you might want to join WOR as well. Fezzo coming through this first sector, 20.3, much more like it, I think, in terms of the first sector. Again, track evolution, not really on par with what I normally see from a PS side. Oh, as Fezzo's gone way too deep into turn number 8, and that is going to be his lap time. Absolutely done for, and that little bit of a wiggle just shows the frustration in that lap.
Yeah, and I have a sneaking suspicion it might be old tyres as well, because it's just going around corners and the rear is just not sticking. So whether the track has changed between Q2 and Q3, or if it's just an older tyre that's just not sticking, is a completely... is the main question, really, isn't it? And all of that one. So Fezzo will be coming to set his initial lap time, but we're expecting it to be a little bit off the pace, a 106.8 in that second sector. It's not particularly quick at all, and I again double suspect that it might just be that used set of soft tyres are currently on that Juventus Racing Haas as they go through then into that final corner, where the Haas We're hoping to get on the board. Oh, he's invalidated the lap, so he can't even get on the board in the end on that one. So Fezzo will set his initial lap time anyway over to 1:28.5, massively off the pace in the end on that one. Then we are expecting, I think, the majority of the drivers here to be on that used set of soft tyres. They have got a fresh set of soft tyres available at their disposal for Q3, and they want to keep a spare set of softs free if they can help it. Black Box coming across the line with a 28.3.
Yeah, 28.3, not a bad lap that actually from Black Box. He was around about 0.3 per second quicker than what Fezzel was doing in that middle sector. Allison's now coming through the middle sector, the Red Bull for the Team Valor Racing team. He's on a fresh set, and he's a 105.9 in the middle sector. And that is how you can tell the difference in terms of sector times between who's on a fresh set and who isn't. And Allison is on a fresh set of soft compound tyres. The light gleaming down on the right tyres. He now comes in toward the final couple of corners through 14 and 15. Now on the run toward the line, and Allison should be around a 27.6, I think, with this lap time. Oh, just call me Mystic James. Allison, 27.6, very good lap time from him. Tom has just started up on a lap. M-Races through the middle sector. He's coming for the middle sector split now. Believe he is the next one to actually start up on a run. Black Box is there in that middle sector. Obviously, he's backed off a lap. M-Racer in the middle sector, comparison to Allison, 106.2. So I think he's on a used set of soft compound tyres as well.
Yeah, it looks like that on that occasion. I was just watching Asicombe actually. Sets a blister in the quick first sector. Absolutely demolishes the corner going into the set of S's. So that is his lap dead in the water. So Fezzo will just be coming, I think, into the pit lane. I think that will be the end of that set of Pirelli soft tyres as M-Racer comes across the line. Actually with a 27.9, which for a used set of softs is a really good lap time, actually, in comparison to the likes of Allison, who might have been on that fresher set. Kai coming in then into turn 10, massively outbraking himself into that corner. That's going to harm him time all the way down here as Shizu Harry comes across the line. 27.5 of his own, looking very sharp indeed. His teammate, on the other hand, who was at one point actually the driver leading the Team Shizu team, suddenly under a little bit of pressure internally at the moment with the likes of Harry. Really showing some blistering lap times and actually on the brink of potentially getting a Shizu pole. But as it stands, it's definitely a Shizu 1-2 at the moment out of the 5 drivers that have set a lap time. We still are expecting, of course, one of the TF drivers and both of the PSR drivers to set a lap time. We do have lap times coming in very quickly, actually, from the 2 McLarens. We've got Kai first, followed by Smokey, and then it will actually be Rudy, believe it or not. So all in the line of the front 2 runners. Here we go. Kai goes across the line, 27.5 of his own. Smokey comes across the line, and he only goes P5, a 27.9 of his own. And then Rudy will come across the line in just a few short moments. He's coming across into the final couple of corners. I mean, you could call this one a final corner, really. This one technically is a corner as well, apparently, but well, no, nonetheless, we'll gloss over that. Comes across the line, DRS open, and he goes fastest of anyone so far, 27.3. Sharp for Rudy, not so sharp for his teammate, and PSR a little bit down the order, and still 0.4 of seconds separating the 2 drivers.
Yeah, it's really interesting, actually, this qualifying session. Rudy, though, out on top. This is where Talent Factory really, I think, come into their own. They normally absolutely excel. Every single event that I've seen them in, they seem to find something in this the final part of qualifying. Rudy is finding that now. He won around here, actually, in EML Premier on PC, albeit a couple of weeks ago. So Rudy has got form around here recently. That, of course, being with challenging into esports challenges is perfect. Bahrain has been on the calendar, of course, first round of the season. Rudy loved it there as well, and he could be the man to watch out for in this qualifying session. Currently out on top. Harry there in second, Kai there in third. They're back into the pit lane. Asicom invalidating both his lap times as well. So he's down in 10th position. Of course, if there was a Q4, he'd be in trouble, but there isn't. Asicom there in 10th. He is a man that he normally shows his best turn of foot, and hopefully he can show that within the final 5 minutes of qualifying. But I just get concerned maybe from an OP perspective. They're there in 10th. Obviously, the other driver as well for OP, Mubarak, was out in Q2. So Asicom, in 10th position, has now got the weight of OP right on his shoulders if they want to try and claim that P3 in the championship.
Yeah, so in the end, though, Asicombe needs to find that little bit of a rhythm. He ended up bottling the set of S's, and that's unfortunately set a little bit of a precedent for him anyway. He's coming in, he's in the pit lane now. He changed on to those Q3 set of soft tyres, as the majority of the drivers out there will do, I am sure. Juventus Racing's Fezzo. I think Juventus Racing are just happy that they've got through to Q3 in general. They'd like to be somewhere in the mid-pack of P5 and 6, you'd have to say. If they could get on the 3rd row, I think they'd be elated with that one. If they can get on to the 4th, that will be their target. 5th row it was just a nice to have, I suppose, on that one. But as it stands, it is Advantage Talent Factory Rudy leading the way. Unfortunately, though, his teammate is over a second down, which even for a U-set of softs is not particularly quick. So, but we've seen that, haven't we, throughout this sort of campaign. Kai has been faster than Smokey on most occasions. Smokey managing to get closer in Q2, but Rudy and Blackbox are still massively off the pace, and that differentiator is, I think, is what's causing Talent Factory's issues, throughout this season, because that big difference in pace has just seen the points being eked away, and now they're going into this race as the second place team for the first time this season. They've got to try and find that consistency between both of the drivers.
Yeah, definitely. So I think Rudy, to be honest, is probably more of an individual than he is a team player. And I mean that in the best possible terms, by the way. Talent Factory are a fantastic team. Black Box there and Nate, he's been PSF2 this season, that I've commentated on in PSGL. He seemed to have struggled then as well. So Black Box maybe just feeling the pressure, obviously with exams, obviously as well with esports challenges. That mentalness, I think, is just getting to him potentially. So he's there in 8th position. 28.3. He will improve on that lap time, albeit if he doesn't invalidate, he will improve on that lap time. I guarantee it. He'll be around Tom, Allison, that sort of area. But for me, with it being a team event, it has to be the team working in sync, working as one. And at this moment in time, Talent Factory just seem a little bit out of sync. Shazoo, however, on the other hand, 2nd and 4th at this stage in qualifying. They have been the team to watch, I think, here tonight. And I would not be surprised at all if one of them tops the session at the end of the race.
I'd like to argue, actually, Team Shazoo have probably been the team that have been probably most in sync across all of the teams, probably in the last 3 rounds at the very least. PSR have been blisteringly quick, but we've seen these occasionally where the gap between the two drivers is just a little bit too much for their comfort. So the drivers that I think most in sync at the moment across the field certainly is got to be Team Shazoo. Drivers now just getting on with their final laps of this session, and it will be Fezzo once again to start his lap, and he will be the first person to finish his lap as well. I believe we've got Allison also just starting his lap as well. Going into turn 1, much better from Fezzo, a testament, I think, to the brand new set of soft tyres now on his car, and immediately on the throttle going around there as well, so feeling a lot more confident going through 3 into 4, and again later on the brakes able to just get around that corner much nicer. Coming out of the corner again, the car just grips, and he'll get set initial lap time 28.1 in that first sector, much sharper from the Juventus driver.
Yeah, much sharper indeed. Fezzel looking very good, I've got to say, on his lap there, in towards turn number 8, then into the double left. My favourite 2 corners of this track of turns 9 and 10. Get this right, you will set up onto the end of this lap. Just missed the apex there slightly through turn number 9. Took a wide entry into the corner. And Fezzel trying to manage his time now and manage that ERS all the way down the old GP2 pit straight into the left-hander of turn number 11. But with only 20 seconds on the clock, this really is now game time for these drivers out on track. Fezzel is the first man through the middle sector, and he is at 105.8. So a big middle sector actually from Fezzel. Hasn't set a lap time so far. Now on the run down in towards the final couple of corners. So Fezzel there, the first man to come across the line. Red Bull of Allison in the middle sector is 2 tenths down his personal best. 106.1 in the middle sector. So Fezzo is on an absolute blistering time here. Whether or not he can go pole will remain to be seen. Fezzo to the line. Doesn't.
Good lap. Look, good lap from Fezzo. 27.386. Just missing out on pole on that missing run. Now, of course, remember, these are fresh tyres now coming in. Asicombe looking to try and improve as well. Allison stays 6th fastest. Asicombe goes across the line. He goes 2nd fastest with a 27.350. Exactly the same lap time as the pole position of Rudy. Harry will come across the line. He only goes 4th fastest. 27.520. Surprising from the Shazoo driver. Tom will stay 6th fastest overall. Kai looking to improve. Not the best final corner, though. His teammate just coming around the final corner himself. 27.590 becomes a 27.441. He goes 4th fastest. Smokey needs to get closer to his teammate. Try pole position. 27.320 from him. Harry only goes for a 27.50 as Rudy comes across the line with a 27.210 of his own. M Racer is going to be the final driver to set a lap time. Once again, Talent Factory separated by 2 tenths of a second, but look at the margin. 1st to 6th place, separating you from 2.5 tenths. M Racer will come across the line. Will he be able to improve? He does get in there, but it'll be 3rd place for the VSR driver, and he gets into that mix on the 2nd row of the grid. But Talent Factory do snag that pole position out of the hands of PSR. But look at the margins we're talking about. It's 4 tenths of a second.
Absolutely incredible. Probably one of the best qualifying sessions I think I've ever seen around Bahrain. Rudy out on top. A tenth of a second. Smokey was absolutely smoking on his lap. He made a slight mistake coming out the final corner. Whether it cost him a tenth of a second, I do not know. He's there in second on the front row of the grid. I'm racing there in third. Asicum in fourth. Fezzo and Kai in fifth and sixth. Black Box with a big lap time in the end in seventh. Harry in eighth. Tom in ninth. And given how Shazoo were second and fourth at the end towards the final laps, the rate to ninth in the end. Allison there in 10th. Fantastic qualifying session.
Yeah, fantastic indeed, actually. It gives us an opportunity to sort of take a breather, try and understand what has just happened. We've got 0.4 of a second separating first from 10th. Going to be a very short break before we get on with this, but in the end, we did say it'd be around about the third row that maybe Fezzo was looking for Juventus. He didn't just get the third row, he got the front step of the third row and got 5th place. That is a really good result for Juventus. They are looking for those points that really want to try and push maybe for the best of the rest of Formula 1.5, if you will. But a fantastic performance nonetheless. And now, a good shot for Juventus. They have got an advantage over a significant number of drivers, some of which you'd expect in the points regularly.
Yeah, total underdog, I've got to say, from Fezzo. I mean, people in the chat were going absolutely crazy, from Christian in the chat saying Fezzo cooked. Nick saying, come on, Fezzo. A French baguette time, Nick says Christian as well. Plenty of support then from Fezzo. Absolutely blistering lap time in the end. 5th position. JR should be absolutely proud of that performance. But now it comes down to the nitty-gritty. It really comes down now to who has got the race pace. Over 29 laps here in Bahrain. I can spy as well from Tootie's perspective a set of medium compound tyres looking like that could be the tyre of choice. Normally when I commentate around here, it's a set of hards for a set of mediums. So whether or not drivers and teams do split their strategies remain to be seen. But it's going to be an absolutely fascinating race, maybe even race of the season.
He was listening, by the way, because he's just switched over to a set of hards while he just said that. So absolutely pin-precise commentary from yourself there, James, on that one. But we do have a bunch of drivers still on the medium tyre, all at the back. Le Griff, is it Nigrel? I can't pronounce that one. Elite Risks and Dan Spreen towards the back. They are all still on medium tyres. Say that Le Griff is just moving on to the hards. We are expecting hards to mediums to be the way to go, I think, around here. But we are in for a very, very interesting race as it stands nonetheless. Rudy is leading the way from Smokey, M-Racer, Asicom and Fezzo, Kai from Black Box, Harry from Tom, Allison rounding out the top 10. We'll be back in just a few short moments. It's going to be fun. Good evening then, ladies and gentlemen across the world. Welcome aboard to WOR. This is the Legacy Division, and we're here for another exciting round of racing here at the Bahrain Grand Prix. It is myself, Jota, alongside you once again with the co-commentator himself, James Head. We're going to be in for what I think is going to be an interesting sort of race now. Qualifying was jam-packed. Everyone separated by 0.4 of a second, an absolute maximum throughout the entire qualifying session. And in the end, we've got some of the sort of lower midfield teams now getting through to Q3, really putting a show on, and is really mixing up the bag around Bahrain.
There really is. It really is. And I really hope it's going to be one of these races where you are just going to look at and just admire, because these 20 drivers are probably the best 20 drivers we've got here in Legacy Division. They are going to deliver an absolute show for you guys. And of course, coming into the title fight, coming into the championship, Paradox and Racing, as we've mentioned so many times, and you can probably take a shot for every single time we've said it, they take the lead for the first time this season, 272 points to their name. Talent Factory in second on 264. Outplayed Racing in third on 160. VSR there in fourth on 107. Team Shazoo in fifth on 103. Then Nexus in sixth on 73. Then Juventus in seventh on 32. But with Fezzo, that's going to go skyrocketing. WOR in 8th on 31, Team Valor in 9th on 30, and then Summit Racing Team in 10th on 20 points. It is going to be a fascinating night, and we've only got 5 seconds.
5 seconds to go before we get in for some interesting race. The drivers are lining up on the grid. And with those drivers lined up, we are going to be counting down the lights. It's 1, it's 2, it's 3, it's 4, and it's 5 lights. It's 5 lights, and they are a go, the drivers. Here they are down that inside line. PSR Smokey will be looking to put immediate pressure on, but a better start from TF Rudy means that he's going to have to use that toe all the way down the line. Racer also looking to make it 3 wide going into turn 1. Smokey's already putting pressure on that Ferrari, and inside line is not going to work on this occasion because it's going to get the door shut firmly on him on this one. And actually coming under pressure now is PSR Smokey from the VSR driver. Racer is going to go for the dive, 3 wide potentially going into turn 4. On that occasion not going to work. He mounts the curb and he's going to lose the rear end traction. Here comes VSR and M-Racer making that one work an absolute treat up to second.
Yeah, great move by M-Racer. There's been a crash further down the field as well. The Griff got caught up in contact, I think, with Tootie and Diego Silva. And there's more contact coming through turn number 8, and that is a spinner for Asacom. So the OP man is already down the outside of the top 10. He's got Mubarak just in behind him, so that's unfortunate for Asacom. There's just a Constantino effect, it seemed like. There's also room from Allison to the inside line at turn number 10. It's getting very, very aggressive through the middle part of that, and threading the Isle of Needle. Here comes Shazoo Tom, trying to go like Judas through the Red Sea, in toward the left-hander now. Beautiful move around the outside where Harry, though, gets the job done. Tom switches back to the inside, and that is how you overtake in Bahrain. Surely Tom's going to hang this to the outside line. Allison doesn't force the inside line. He's still there, the Team Valorman, but in the end, Shazoo working up an absolute treat, 7th and 8th position, and Team Shazoo might have just pulled off one of the best team overtakes I think I've seen all season.
Yeah, great work, and again shows the real in-sync nature at the moment of the team, as well as Asacom again getting into another little collision, and now off of the track he is, as he now relegates himself down to 14th place. And again, just going back to that sort of sync with Team Shazoo, they're so in sync at the moment, are the two drivers now 7th and 8th respectively. There's your pit stop strategy predicted. Medium to hard, anywhere between 13 and 17 is where we're expecting that pit stop. We are expecting a near 50-50 strategy around here, though, as Mubarak gets across Allison for P9. But look at the drive straight out of the corner for Allison. Straight into the next corner, he's back in front.
It's almost as if he's got the speed boost from Mario Kart, I think, at that stage, coming up the straight to turn 4. That was brilliant from Allison. Great fighting with Mubarak as well. Remember, Mubarak is on the pad. Allison is on the wheel. He's there in 9th position. Mubarak there in 10th. He's fighting against his own. Tootie, by the way, had a spin coming out the final couple of corners as well. So unfortunate for him. Also further down the field, Francesco and Diego Silva side by side in towards turn number 9. And in the end, Francesco does get the job done. Tom and Harry swap around as well. And Allison went deep there in towards turn number 10. And that now threads Mubarak through. And also, I think maybe with a little bit of contact of Harry with all of that as well. Mubarak there in 9th. Allison now back down to 10, but do not discount that Red Bull out, given that straight line speed.
I think Harry's got a problem, I'm not going to lie. He's looking very slow at the moment around this track here. Has he got damage, I'm wondering, on the car? Nothing immediately to the name, but he's understeering quite aggressively here and actually slowed down Mubarak going through the corner, and Allison nearly took that opportunity to get in there and make an overtake. But on that occasion, they stay in formation. Harry's really started to slow up a bit. Now, again, look at that understeering off of the corner, and he's having to just hesitate to get back on. Rudy setting the fastest lap of this race, no surprises, but 1.6 seconds separating Rudy from M-Racer at the moment towards the front. Towards the front as well, Fezzo has made another overtake. He was in 5th place when he started. He's overtaken a few drivers, managed to get in there, and he's now up to 4th. So in all of that battling, he's now managed to get Juventus Racing potentially up to 12 points, but plenty of racing to go.
Oh yeah, plenty of racing still to go. Blackbox there in 5th is doing a solid job as well. They're just beginning to pull away from Kai there in 6th position as well. Everything now beginning to settle down. Of course, the DRS is now enabled on lap 3 out of 29. Elite Risks as well. Nigel have had a very good start. They've gained, I think, 5 and 6 positions respectively. 4 and 6 positions, in fact, for Elite Risks and for Nigel. So they're doing a good job for SLR. Asicum, the big loser, dropping down 11 positions early on. 2D as well, dropping down 7, and Dan Spreen is into the pit lane. So I thought Elite Risk was going to go the inside of Josh Gilly, coming to the left-hander there of turn number 10. In the end, doesn't get the job done, and everyone is going to settle down once again. But Rudy pulling away 1.9 seconds. He looked dominant in the EML Premier round here on the PC. Looks even more dominant now on console. He's pulling away from M-Racer in 2nd. Smokey there in 3rd. They are, and I know from far, in fact, Smokey, he is going to be all about ERS management.
You know what, I just want to keep mentioning Fezzo again. I'm not trying to sort of sing the Fezzo train here. I'm sure there's a lot of fans of Fezzo at the moment, but he's so far my driver of the race weekend, because he's been absolutely astonishing to watch in qualifying. And in the race, he was well outside of the DRS territory of Smokey. And he's just managed to just edge himself back in there, and now he's within the DRS territory of Smokey, and he's able to hold up in that line. While this is all happening, PSR Kai has now been overtaken by Shazoo Tom. So Shazoo are now starting to cook up here, something rather magical to say the least. Black Box is on the back of Fezzo, but now stuck in a DRS train. And while that's all happening, Fezzo is going to get closer and closer to a battle for P2 because Smokey is now making some inroads on VSR's M Racer. Juventus Racing have rightfully got an opportunity for a potential podium if they play the cards right.
Yeah, Fezzel's doing a fantastic job at this stage. Mubarak is dropping down the field and he's got contact as well with Zinity coming to the left-hander of turn number 6. So that's unfortunate for Mubarak. He's dropping down the field. OP are going to be very, very annoyed, I think, by themselves as well as the drivers out on the track. From their perspective, they are going to have some stewards reports, I'll guarantee you that, towards the end of the session. Mubarak just got forced up. I'm not sure if he made a mistake coming out of turn number 4 and went wide. Lost it on the apex slightly and got bottomed on the apex and then just lost the positions from there. But regardless, Zinity came across on him in towards turn number 6. Unfortunately for Mubarak, he's there in 14th. Asacom there in 15th. OP are having an absolute disaster of a race so far. Hopefully, though, they'll be expecting the safety car to come out in this race. Smokey, though, now beginning to cook, though, on the back. I'm not sure what he's having. Maybe burgers, hot dogs, something like that. Smokey on the back of M Racer. Now, the console Tier 1 champion, I think, is going to have to be forced into the move to get the job done on M Racer, because this looks like a clean sailing move now to the inside line from the PSR man towards the inside. Is he going to go for the move? Oh, I thought he was going to back off it, but in the end, M Racer has to be trying to be smart. Smokey outside line through turn 2, forced into the move. Perfect from M Racer's perspective.
Yeah, and from Fezzo's perspective, it's looking very sharp indeed. Smokey cooks up a treat by smoking the machine and gets into a really good place up to P2 now. He tries to battle with M Racer, and again, Fezzo just able to get closer and closer to this little battle. And I wonder what Fezzo is thinking right now. I'm in a position here to earn some big points for my team, but do I potentially earn a podium for my team is what he's going to be wondering here. He thinks he's faster than M Racer. Chudy going fastest of anyone so far, by the way, and the other VSR driver down in 19th place. He has pitted quite early on, though, for that medium tyre. Up on the curb for the Haas driver and able to stay within touching distance, but bottoms out and not able to get the traction he's looking for, but of course stays within the DRS territory of M Racer just in front of him. And lap 5 of 29, and so far things looking particularly interesting as we've got more battles happening down in P8 as Shazoo Harry, who at one point I thought was struggling, is just managing to find a little bit of pace now and is now beginning his battle with PSR Kai. Again, PSR Kai not particularly feeling confident out there on the hard tyre, I wonder. But look at that ERS management from Harry. Has been absolutely appalling. He's down to 2% before he gets into the final corner. And then he's going to head himself round the final corner and uses the overtake. But once again, even with DRS, you're going to find that he's going to struggle. The lower downforce setup he's clearly on is working a treat, but he's not going to make the overtake as quickly as possibly he could have done if he did have the ERS. But he's up to 7th.
He is indeed, and Kai, by the way, has got damage. That is why he's been overtaken so easy in that fact. Jamie Johnson reporting there in the chat that Kai has got damage. I believe, looking at it when that overtake happened, it might be left side end plate damage for Kai, which is unfortunate. The PSL man is just going to have to live with it. I think it's going to be one of those cases where it's just light green damage, but it really affects the car handling around here, which is unfortunate. Kai there in 8th position, doing a fantastic job. But look now coming through the S section. That is where he's losing time. Through the left and right corners, that indicates to me it's more left side end plate damage than right side end plate damage. I might be wrong, it might be right side end plate damage. Regardless, though, he's got damage and he's there in 8th position. And PSR are on a backwards mission, I think, with Kai, just to try and hang on in the top 10. Will he opt, though, to get that replaced with that damage? Will he opt that to get replaced potentially in the pit stops? If so, it's going to cost him an additional 5 seconds.
No disrespect at all to Black Box here, but Talent Factory will be wondering, what if we fielded a slightly faster driver tonight? Because if they did, they'd have been on a big points haul and they'd be back in the lead of the championship. They're beating at least one PSR driver quite nicely. They've got Black Box there, definitely there to take Talent Factory back to the front of the field, as we've got Dan Spreen retiring in the pit lane for WOR. He's had enough and he's now out as he retires in the pit lane. You know, Talent Factory will be wondering, yes, we're going to get the championship lead back here as it stands, but we could be getting the championship lead with more points in our pocket here. Is this going to be a question of, have we had a missed opportunity here?
Yeah, I think from Black Box's perspective, I mean, look at his ERS management, 56% of ERS. He needs to get on that ERS now because he is going to drop behind Fezzo and M-Racer by more than a second, and he does not want to be doing that. And I've seen him so many times, actually, more recently, is that the yellow flag is for Dan Springs AI coming out the pit lane, which does need to be fixed going into the new game. Codemasters, if you're watching. M-Racer on the back of Smokey, though, second and third. Yeah, Black Box just needs to use up. It just made a slight mistake there through the little S section there of 6 and 7.
Ooh,
now
Fezzo.
through turn 8, he's on the back foot all of a sudden. You've just seen something?
Yeah, Fezzo went for a big tank slapper going through turn 8, and he's just managed to save the car from anything major, but he's unfortunately lost a couple of tenths to M-Racer and to Black Box. The Black Box now back in the DRS territory firmly on Fezzo, which is the last thing Fezzo really needed. He didn't want to think about the driver behind. He wants to think forward, think about M-Racer, think about the podium, but that mistake, as again, mounting the curbs. He's playing a dangerous game at the moment, is Fezzo. I'm aware PlayStation can mount those curbs a little bit easier and the car not bottom out as much, but still, it's just a bit of a dangerous game he's playing at the moment, and I think it's because he knows that he made that mistake and he just wants to get that time back. Black Box is at risk of potentially being out of DRS for Fezzo on this next lap here, but Fezzo is getting closer and closer. DRS is open. Lack of ERS available now for M-Racer. The red light at the back is blinking. He's out of ERS now as he's going to go down the right-hander. He's going to defend it here. Fezzo's going to have to go later on the brakes, and there goes Smokey potentially nearly into the mix there as well, but thankfully no collision on that occasion. M-Racer's had a poor entry, which means he's going to have a poor exit. Here comes Juventus Racing's Fezzo. He's up to third. He's the Haas driver, and he's off on the podium.
That was absolutely well worked from Fezzo's perspective. Beautiful move. M-Racer had to use up all of his battery as well just to defend that position. In the end, he forced M-Racer in from a mistake. That phenomenal run coming out of tournament 3 did him the dirty, quite literally. And M-Racer there in fourth, Fezzo there in third. There was also 3 wide in the background as well. Zinity is through on Josh Gilly. Allison has lost 2 positions for the price of 1 in that 3 wide moment in towards turn 1, and then again up towards turn number 4. Zinity there in 9th, Josh Giddy there in 10th. Currently, Team Valor are scoring 1 point, but they've got both of their drivers together, which I think is the only team, apart from Jazoo, who have got both of their drivers together within the top 10 or top 11 of the field. Rudy, by the way, he's checked that out in front, 3.5 seconds. There is a theory, though, that Rudy, if he's gone too hard too early, because he's got time to play with, he could come in a little bit earlier into the pit lane. That might give Smokey, Fezzo, M-Racer, that pack in behind, a big chance as we go through the second half of the race.
Potentially, we'll have to see. Rudy's definitely leading the way, though, at the moment, running riot in 3.5 seconds in front, but of course unforced errors are a possibility around here. Fezzo, by the way, is now going to be like M-Racer, going to be struggling with the ERS management now, while Smokey's got about 50%. So while this is all happening, those drivers are now going to begin their ERS management harvesting programs that may allow Smokey to start gaining some time from those behind and find a little bit of a no man's land, a little bit of a pocket of his own here on this occasion, as Zinity's going for a bit of a dive on PSR Kai. Kai's got damage, remember, so he's going to find a little bit of difficulty as he's gone for a spin. He's in the wall, and that front wing is completely off, and that is just a testament to the full pressure that Zinity was trying to put on Kai, and he's bottled it. He's down to 17th.
He has, and he's lost his front wing as well. That's unfortunate, I think, for Zinity. He looked as if Kai came across very late, I've got to say, to try and defend the move. He gave him enough of a gap, though, to go up the inside line and try and shoot up on the inside line through turn number 1. Kai, as you mentioned, had damage, but he still had the audacity, I think, to try and cover off the move. That is the racer's instinct right there. He wants to fight every single position, and look at the train he's got him behind. This is all the way down. So now Diogo Silva there in 16th. If there is a split, it's going to become between Nigel and Asacum, potentially in 8/10 per second. But Kai really struggling now with his end plate damage. Josh Gilly's all over the back of him, and Team Valor all of a sudden have now got double points. Luke Humphries asking in the chat, is that Rusty racing on his account? May well be.
Yeah, may well be indeed, as Kai has got that front wing damage. You could see the understeer through that corner as Josh Gilly, TV8, looking to get some inroads here. He's got plenty of ERS, and he's got more front wing available, as well as the lower downforce, and obviously not going to have a drag. He sets up again. Look at that understeer really kicking in, and I'm wondering whether Kai's going to bail here. He's not. He's staying out even further. There's a valiant effort from PSR Kai to hold on, but this is going to be over and done with, as he's now relegated to 9th place in that battle. Allison also looking to get a double move done. His TV8 looking to do the double on that PSR driver, and it is very, very easy indeed with that lack of front wing available. He's going to make the inroads on the inside line, but that downforce is not going to be there. And with a lack of ERS as well, he's going to be under pressure from who's been cooking in the background. SLR, Elite Wrist, colliding ever so slightly into the background of the McLaren. And that may just be a little testament, a little bit of a nudge to say, I need to be careful around this guy. He's not looking quick.
Yeah, definitely. So he realised that he's got damage. If SLR are watching the chat, which I know a couple of the guys are, is that Francesco's through on Mubarak in the background of shot. They were fighting side by side through turn number 8. Francesco with a late move to the inside line. Mubarak now down in 15th position, splits the OP guys up as well. Kai, though, no bite shown from my end at all with that go on Kai in the background, but he's in 10th position. 5/10 of a second off. If I was him, I would have came in the pit lane right now just to try and get through in terms of potential overspeed. If there's a spinner ahead, especially coming through turn number 12, and that brings out a safety car, Kai is back in automatically in this race underneath the 3 pit stops. So it's a little bit strange. Dan Screen leaving the session there as well, further down the field, but it looks like the next move is going to be between maybe Elite Risks, Nigel, Asacom, and Kai. All of this battle, I think, is now going to unfold. Kai now coming down the straight towards turn number 1. Tesla was getting close to Smokey there as well, but Elite Risks is leading to the pit wall to the inside line. How on earth are you going to fit this SLR car to the inside line? Kai is so stoic in his defence, he does not want to give this up. Elite Risks now to the outside line. In the end, just serves him one round the outside of turn number 2. Beautiful job by the SLR man, and he's into 10th, but Kai still with the audacity to defend because he is a very good driver, and if he didn't have that damage, that would have been a hell of a lot easier.
I mean, he was trying every key in that little keyhole to just turn and find the door and unlock it. And my God, did he unlock it. Good move from Elite Risk to get himself up to P10 in that one. While this is battling, we still have a little battle happening, as we've got actually a battle between Francesco and Mubarak happening in the ghosting scene. But at the moment, they've just managed to unghost. Now 14th and 15th for them. Looks like a half spin potentially from the Juventus Racing driver. While this is all happening, by the way, still continuing on at the moment is Juventus Racing's Fezzo. And I just want to say, again, it's been a valiant effort from Fezzo because he's now maintaining his ERS and managing it and improving his chances of being able to defend or maybe even attack Smokey if he wants to, because he's able to recover that energy that he is doing a valiant effort for. We'll go back on board again. Look at that. He's managed to begin a bit of a harvesting program here now with about 20-ish% available at his disposal. There are drivers around him, including M-Racer, who have got less ERS available. So a good effort from Juventus Racing, who are on the brink of a podium here as it stands. Good effort, though, from SLR as well. They're now in the points, and surely it's going to be a matter of time here before Kai is called in to get a fresh set of boots on and get a new front wing on, because this is causing some real big headaches for PSR, because they have got a real possibility of losing the championship lead after just one race.
Yeah, definitely so. Fezzo, I think, coming back to him, I mean, we are unbiased towards Fezzo, I promise you, in the commentary box here tonight. Fezzo there in third is doing a fantastic job. It almost looks like actually Fezzo's just beginning to harvest that ERS, as you mentioned, but I think he's saved up on his tyres as well. He looks a lot fresher compared to Smokey and compared to M-Racer. And when you've got a driver like that who is just so full of confidence, there is a little bit of blistering occurring down the front right tyre, just very minimally though at this stage. Smokey though, compare that to Smokey, there's a big thick line now beginning to come through the middle of the tyre. That just indicates that Smokey might be just overpowering himself in terms of the tyres. Fezzel there in third, doing a fantastic job. And I mean, well, if he can save his tyres better than the console Tier 1 champion, I'd love to see how Fezzel can do an F1 23, because he could be a star of the future. Yeah,
I'm looking forward to seeing how he does on the PlayStation platform, actually, because with this race performance at the moment, he's got a little bit on him here. Just keeping an eye on Elite Race, makes a small mistake, actually, going through the right-hander at the top of the hill. He's actually starting to gain some inroads on the TV8 team. I'm aware in the background that we've got Brett Norman, double TV8 points, stop the count, he says on this one. Well, at the moment, Elite Risk is looking to take at least a point off of one of them in Allison at the moment, because he is actually starting to really push now, is that Williams driver. And of course, he has got Kai as a little bit of a cushion, but in to do so, he could do with his teammate Nigel from really making an overtake at some point on PSR Kai, as it looks like Kai has started to settle with P11.
Yeah, he has done indeed. Allison doing a good job as well. Team Valor looked like they're beginning to hold up a bit of a train as Brett Foreman's put stop the count in the chat. 8th and 9th position, they're doing a fantastic job. And to be honest, Team Valor always seem to come alive in the races. I don't know what switches on between qualifying and the race. I don't know if they've given a pep talk or something in the style of Peter Reed. But Josh Gilly and TV Allison are doing a fantastic job. Elite Risk's on the back of him. He's still there. Kai, to be fair as well, he's saving his EOS as well. He's beginning to save his tyres. He's still got that damage, but he hasn't lost any more ground, which I think is positive from his perspective. Nigel very deep there on the brakes, just in behind him as well. And Asakam and Mubarak are the ones to watch out for in this pack. 13th and 14th. Once they get out of this pack, they are going to be flying, the OP boys. They know how to work together as a team. Fezzo, though, now on the back of Smokey, are we going to see a potential overtake on the console Tier 1 champion?
Potentially. That's a question worth asking. I think in the argument as well with Outplayed Racing, they've got so much ERS at their disposal that they could get on with some seriously quick laps if they make an early pit stop and commit to the undercut. That's what Black Box is doing. I'm wondering if Outplayed Racing are going to do the same. They know they could commit to the undercut and earn some major inroads here. Is one of them at least going to come in? They're not. They're going to stay out for another lap here. So TF Black Box is now in the pit lane with a fresh set of medium tyres, and he'll be joining right at the back of this queue as well, actually. Chudy down in 17th place with 11 lap old medium tyres. He's not a risk at all here, as Allison and Elite Risk getting into a little bit of a scrap of their own here. This is where that battle was going to happen. They're nudging tyres still, and SLR looking to try and get up to 8th place in this battle with Allison. He's going to go for the late breaker into the next corner, and he's going to go wide at the moment. Is Allison to Elite Risks. He's going to very happily say, thank you very much, I'll have that position, 4 points for me. He's going to be very happy with that one indeed, as now SLR have got some points on the board, and they're getting some big points with their man, their star, Elite Risks.
Yeah, that was a fantastic move. Well worked, actually, from the SLR man. Elite Risk's doing a fantastic job. They're in 8th position, picking off Allison just like a sniper on a roof. Maybe. Might be seeing that tomorrow. Who knows? But Elite Risk there in 8th. Allison there in 9th, doing a fantastic job. Nigel as well. Not entirely out of this either. SLR are protecting themselves in terms of the tyres. I'm just seeing what Rudy's doing out in front. The gap is now extended to 4.8. And judging by his ERS usage down the straight here, I think he's coming in the pit lane this lap around. Lap 14 out of 29. Is he now belling into the pit lane? No. He's just totally outdone me coming down the straight. Ignore me. 5 seconds clear now, but Smokey trying to fake it into the pit lane there doesn't. Nobody responds, actually, to Black Box coming in. And Black Box on that sort of medium compound tyres. The gap between himself and Tom, who's at the back of that train, I'll just get it up and count it up. It's around 24 seconds between Tom and Black Box. That is normally around the pit stop frame around here in Bahrain. As that Nigel's going to go for the move on Kai. Yeah,
it's going to be a late breaker though, because he's out of ERS. Unfortunately, he tries to go for the corner, but the car is there. It's the McLaren, so he's going to go for the switch back into the next corner. He will have the better exit going through turn 3, but he's hesitant to get on the throttle. And look, he's got no ERS at his disposal, so he's going to have to go for the late break around the outside then of turn 3, and he's got the space to do so, and he's certainly got the grip to do so as well. What a move this will be if this works. He goes around the outside on this occasion, though. The grip is in Kai's favour despite the front wing damage. He'll try and go for an uncharacteristic switch back though through the set of S's. Maybe a dive around the outside, and that's exactly what he's looking for. He's going to go around the outside, and he's going to have the grip potentially, and he'll have the inside, and he'll have the advantage going into this corner. So surely Kai is just going to say, you have it, and he does do so. He goes for that switch back, and they collide with the SLR driver, and I have to say, Kai probably should have conceded. He didn't have the front wing, he didn't have the grip, and the front switch back at turn 10 is risky at the best of times, but he stays in 11th place, and surely there's going to be a question to the stewards about that one.
Yeah, he misses braking point slightly into turn number 10. That's unfortunate. Kai was doing such a stunning job in terms of his defence. He's still there, though, in 11th, borderline of the points. As I said, Asakam, it helps out him. OP, though, came in the pit lane with Mubarak, and Fezzo was in the pit lane. He is the first one to react out of the leaders. So Fezzo, first one to react into the pit lane. 14 laps on the set of mediums should be quite comfortable. However, they're going to be towards the end of their life as he gets to the end of the race. And now he's doing that undercut, of course, on Black Box. He's coming around the final corner. This could be close on the X on the pit lane.
Yeah, it could be very close, actually, this one here. I'm looking forward to seeing what we've got coming up here. So Black Box is going to be coming down the straight here now.
Miles
and this
ahead.
is going to be, it's miles ahead, actually, of those in front. Fezzo will stay in front of Black Box, no problem at all. So we are looking at prospective P4 potentially on the cards here for Black Box. The undercut is working quite powerful here, and I'm wondering if M Racer and PSR Smokey are now going to have fairly large eyes here to say, oh my goodness me, what have we done? And we need to get out of these tyres emergency. and that's what they may end up choosing to do now, because now we've got a potential opportunity for Fezzo to get maybe above P3 in this one. First penalty of the day going to Francesco, 3-second time penalty. That's for multiple track excursions, and as a result, getting those 3 warnings, the 3 seconds are slammed on his favour. M-Racer still holding on then to P3 against PSR Smokey. We are expecting surely the pit stop to be called here for these drivers. Pitt now saying on his steering wheel at the moment for M-Racer. Same goes for PSR Smokey. We are expecting that wide window of opportunity. Pit, there's laps 13 through 17. Last opportunity for the pit window for it to close at the end of the next lap, but it's going to be working a treat here. We'll see if Smokey decides to call it. No, he doesn't. M-Racer does, though. So this is an opportunity for PSR to see how powerful that undercut is, as Fezzo is just coming around the top of the hill, and he's still got Black Box breathing down his neck here. The question is how far out is Fezzo going to be versus M-Racer? Remember, M-Racer was behind Fezzo at the beginning of this pit stop window, we'll say, as he comes across now the start finishing line. M-Racer is just leaving the pit lane, and the overcut may have just worked a treat here. We'll have to see. There he is there, and on the inside line, Fezzo will be able to remain in P3 only just, as Black Box, who was looking for P4, is back down to P5.
Yeah, but he's going to get the job done, I think, on M-Racer coming out of turn number 3. He's got the straight line speed, but he hasn't got the ERS, and that's what's going to lack him in terms of this battle. M-Racer deep in towards turn number 4. He's got a chance, actually. Black Box, much fresher tyres through turn number 5 on the ERS. He's going to have to give him room, M-Racer, but in the end, the tyre's still not warmed up. This is the worst possible time as Elite Risk and Mubarak are side by side in the back row. Black Box has to try and think of something to get past. In the end, he can't. He should have managed his ERS better, and that is why he has lost that position to M-Racer.
You may have heard me saying just dive it, and on that occasion he might have gone for it, but I think in the end he was wise, perhaps not to. On that occasion, it shows that my racecraft might not be up to scratch at the moment. It has been a year, to be fair. JR Fezzo then going into the next corner. Worth making note, by the way, he's already out of ERS's Fezzo, so now he's beginning an ERS management process, but he is much faster on these tyres versus those in front here, as Rudy and Smokey have stayed out another lap in this one here, so they really are committed to the overcut. There's a little bit of a track excursion actually from Fezzo on that occasion here, so they are staying out another lap here. I'm wondering if hard to softs are what they're considering here. Gilly is now in for TV8 here. That's the driver just in front of Allison, and it'll be a fresh set of medium tyres waiting for the number 48 Red Bull.
Yeah, definitely. So Black Box on the back of M-Racer again. He's 6 tenths off him. He's not going to be close in towards turn number 1. Hards to softs, by the way. If that strategy is going to be pulled off, I would say they can come in around lap 20-21. So they've still got a couple more laps if they do want to transition to that set of soft compounder tyres. Tamino there in the chat saying, how is Allison so far from the top when he did really good in qualifying? He got caught up in early incidents, I believe. So Allison there further down the field. He's there, in P4? He's still yet to come in the pit lane, so he is going to be further down the field. Team Valor were always on, though, the edge of the points. They were 8th, 9th, and 10th. Asacom, I think, got involved in an incident with them, if I'm not mistaken. But Allison there is on the back foot. Team Valor, though, I think are putting everything in Josh Gilly. He seems to be their quickest driver now. He's ahead of Francesco out on track. Only a second off Elite Risk and Mubarak. If Allison comes out of the pit lane, he's going to be in around that sort of area. So he's not going to be too far down the field as what people might be thinking there in the chat.
I think Fezzo may just jump Smokey in the pit lane, you know. I think it'll be close. It might be only a couple of tenths, but I think that is going to be close here. So it's all going to be about how much Kai can hold Fezzo back as well. Because, of course, remember, Smokey is now coming in, and I'm expecting maybe a couple of tenths in Fezzo's favour here. Now, Kai, of course, is on the old set of hard tyres with the front wing damage still, remember, and he's now just leaving his pit box now is Smokey. It is a fresh set of medium tyres, of course, for that McLaren, but the number 7 Haas is coming down that final corner. The McLaren's box is a little bit further down than you may expect here. He's going to be leaving the pit lane right about now, I wonder. Fezzo is coming down the straight. Is he going to be able to beat the Smokey? I wonder. It's going to be close, you know, going down into the corner, and Fezzo is going to try and hold on around the outside line, and he gets it, and gets the undercut, works a treat. He's up to a prospective second place.
Fantastic stuff, and do you know what? He's going to be more than a second clear of Smokey as well. That undercut has worked to perfection, but Smokey, remember, was not really using up that ERS until that trying to get that move done out of turn number 1, out of the pit lane. So that's unfortunate for Smokey. He's down in 5th position. Who would have thought Fezzo would be arriving on the scene in Legacy Division? I certainly didn't. I underestimated him quite clearly. He's there ahead of the console Tier 1 champion. JR are probably jumping up and down right now, bouncing away in terms of their strategy. This is pulled off brilliantly. And do you know what? If Rudy especially still stays out, he could even lead this race.
Potentially, I think he's potentially going to be a little bit too far back for that one at the moment, probably by about 4 or 5 seconds. It looks like Rudy is now coming in then, so it will be a fresh set of medium tyres to the end of this race. Soft tyres probably won't go the distance. I'd expect Kai maybe want to go for a little bit of an alternative strategy, considering he has to commit to the front wing change anyway. He might decide to pit within the next 3 or 4 laps and go on to a set of soft tyres at the end of this race. So Rudy is just about to leave the pit lane now. Fezzo just coming around that final corner, as to be expected. Rudy should be able to hold on to the prospective lead of this race, but as it stands, the leader of this race is Shazoo Tom, who may be opting for the alternative strategy himself here of a hard to soft. And that will slap him right back in the middle of a big battle at the moment for P7 with Black Box, M-Racer and Smokey. And of course, don't discredit Fezzo. We'll see what Fezzo's doing at the moment because of his ERS management. It's poor, you know, he's really starting to feel that pressure. He knows the podium's there, but if he continues to use up all of that ERS against him, he's going to find himself in real trouble, because there's a bunch of drivers all very happy to swallow up any positions that he loses as a result of the management or the mismanagement of his ERS.
This has actually worked out pretty perfectly, I think, from PSR's perspective, for Smokey and Kai, 3rd and 5th. Kai's yet to come in the pit lane, albeit he could go 28 laps and then pit on the final lap of the race if he really wanted to. But Fezzo now has got to deal with this PSR tactic, and in the end, Kai is just going to let him through. That is fair play, actually, from Kai. He's going to let Smokey through as well, maybe give M-Racer a little bit of trouble. So nice from the PSR perspective from Kai to let Smokey and Fezzo through. What a gentleman-like thing to do, I've got to say. Fezzo there in 3rd, Smokey there in 4th. They can now battle out on track without having to worry about Kai. I think phenomenal stuff there from Kai. Good sportsmanship.
Yeah, good sportsmanship. Gentlemanly conduct 101, but not exactly what I would have done to help my teammate out, but nonetheless, fair enough. If that's how PSR want to do it, I say fair play.
Ooh,
as M-Racer is a little bit later on the brakes, but Kai is able to just stay in front and not risk any issue. He's staying out another lap with this front wing damage. Smokey gets the fastest lap of this race. He's actually going to be putting pressure on Fezzo and immediately gets the overtake done and dusted, and that is all a testament to the lack of ERS now on Fezzo's name. He really needs to consider getting on ERS management program, because otherwise he's going to find himself under too much pressure and he may end up losing the podium. As it stands, it still will be P3. M-Racer just managing to make the move, no problem at all on PSR Kai. Talent Factory's Black Box will be looking to get the move done on PSR Kai next. 8 laps to go.
Yeah, 8 laps to go. Black Box is in this battle as well. They're miles clear of Shazoo, Harry and Kai. Literally having to hold up Black Box, coming to the stand of 6 and 7, and in the end has to try and force a move to the inside line in towards turn and break. But all of this is now putting them outside of DRS. Talent Factory are now seeing their race potential with Black Box at least going up in smoke. Rudy has been an absolute dominant force out in front. He's there 4 seconds clear of Smokey in 3rd. Rudy there was not part really of the Console T1 Championship this season. Doing a fantastic job, regardless, even Legacy Division. Black Box is still on the back of Kai, and he's not going to go around the outside of turn number 12, is he? Here comes the Talent Factory now. Maybe to look around the outside of turn number 12, but Kai, with that damage, is still holding them up, still with Stoke in defence. This is perfect from PSR. Crispy has ordered this one and is proving to be very crisp as Tootie has gone coming out of turn number 1. Unfortunately, Black Box again. Defence for the inside line. Tom, by the way, in the pit lane. He could get ahead of these guys as well. Black Box, though, still on the back of Kai. Kai, PSR against Talent Factory. You would have thought there wasn't 8 points between them.
Yeah, no surprises then. So it looks like this was all set up in order to try and counteract an attack from Talent Factory. There is Tom. PSR Kai's going to get caught up potentially. He squeezes Black Box, gets into a tank slapper, and there goes the move. Black Box gets that one done and dusted. Shazoo Tom, soft tyres, which means now Black Box, who would have been in front of Tom, is now behind him, and he's on a fresh set of softer compound tyres. So definitely lost points for Talent Factory, but surely the expectation is that they're going to be taking the lead in the championship once again at the end of this race. But once again, Talent Factory are going to be asking the question, we may be taking lead in the championship, but are there missed opportunities? I argue there may be.
Yeah, definitely so. Tom, 2.5 seconds behind M-Racer. He's got 27% of ERS. Now, he's going to have so much fresher tyres compared to everyone else ahead of him. Tom, if there's anybody that can get second position from here, it is him. He's there in 5th position. Would not be surprised if he gets second by the end of this race. You've earmarked this comment for a little bit later on. But Tom has got to rely more on his tyres than his ERS. His ERS management has been poor this race from a Shizou perspective. 18% of ERS. He's on the back of M-Racer. He needs to use up those tyres pretty quickly if he wants to get on the back row and have any sort of chance of trying to get a podium.
Here comes M-Racer then in that battle with Fezzo. He's looking, of course, behind him now. Gap is 2 seconds with just a sprint race to go. 5 laps left in this race, if my maths works out right, which it probably doesn't. I think it's 6, actually. Oh, I'll get there in the end. 7. Oh, is it 7? Oh, we'll get there in the end. M-Racer is looking fairly sharp, though, in the end with that battle with Fezzo. Fezzo really starting to feel that pressure. You can see the ERS is hovering in and around 10%, and he's just trying to get to the end of this race, knowing third place is definitely on the cards. But Shizou Tom now has got a beautiful fresh set of soft tyres, but look, he's struggling with the ERS as well. He's actually below 5% going through these set of S's here. So yes, Tom might have got the grip in the corners, but is he going to have any ability to make overtakes on the straights where it counts at a circuit like this?
Yeah, that middle sector, though, I think from Tom, he's already gained about 0.5 per second through this middle sector alone. It's this middle sector where he's really going to gain the time, because there's lack of straights and there's more corners, and that is where he's good at in terms of the tyres. He's just about within a second, and do you know what? They had good straight line speed in qualifying to the Shizou boys. They're now using this up in the race once again, and Tom, because it's still in a cornering part of the track, as Harry is through on Kai, and that's a let-through, I think, for Kai, into 8th position he goes down into. Tom is on the borderline. Purple middle sector, though, and he's in within ERS range, so this is perfect from the Shizou man's perspective. Is he just about going to hang on? Fezzo, by the way, looks like he's going to try and get the move done maybe on Smokey. Smokey now trying to back up. He realises that Tom is going to be on the back very quickly indeed, and Fezzo's now going to have to try and go for the move in towards turn 1. And do you know what? I think Smokey is not going to fight this whatsoever. Tom bangs in the new fastest lap. Fezzo bangs up the P2. Nice job there by the Juventus Racing man. Smokey there in third. Nice braking actually in towards turn 1, saves up a bit more battery.
Well, the issue is as well, while this is all happening, by the way, Kai is now finally in the pit lane. Soft tyres waiting for him at the team McLaren. While that's all happening, by the way, Tom is gaining ground in the corners, as you rightfully point out, but on the straights, he's losing buckets of time. Even with the DRS, he's just did not make any ground at all to the cars in front of him, and he's going to find himself stuck on making any possibility of any overtakes without having to do something unorthodox, maybe in the S's or at turn 10 or something to that equation, and that is going to be the killer for the Shizou driver. They've been absolutely magnificent to watch of Shizou throughout this race, but I think just on this occasion the ERS mismanagement may have cost themselves any possibility of being able to make any easy overtakes with these tyres. Either way, Vezzo still leads in second place, by the way. Rudy, who we've not really been talking about now, is nearly 6 seconds in front. It's been absolutely astonishing to watch as you've seen something.
I think this miles wide, coming out of turn number 10, yellow flag is the Aston Martin, I think of Le Griff further down the field, Dignity actually, the other one for the Aston Martin. Josh Gilly, though, looked to try and get the job done in towards turn number 10. Elite Risk went so far off, I thought he was trying to escape out of track limits, to be honest, coming out of turn number 10. But in the end, hangs on to P9, Josh Gilly there in P10 is giving Atacum maybe a bud of the cherry. Try and get on the back of them, and speaking on the back of them, Tom on the back of M-Racer, running down the straight once again in towards turn number 1. He's going to try and think about the move, but in the end, with the lack of EOS, he's not getting close. Unless he sends this on the brake, he's not getting close.
Yeah, and that's it, isn't it? You can do all you want, have the best tyres in the world, but if you've got no power, you are not going to get any inroads on any overtakes done, and I'm wondering if people are starting to recognise now in front that Tom is not going to be able to make any inroads at any speculative straights. He's going to have to make some moves at some unorthodox corners on this one here. He remains 2 tenths behind M-Racer as Smokey is still behind Fezzo, and you know what? Fezzo's really beginning this push, and he's pushing so hard, in fact, he's missing apexes, going through turn 8, misses his apex, heading through into turn 9, into turn 10, Zinity retires in the pit lane, going through into turn 10, once again, misses the pit lane ever so slightly, misses the apex ever so slightly. Fezzo goes for that wider exit, doesn't he, going through that straight, but he remains in P2. Tom is still in P5, but look, it only finds a 1/4 of a tenth on the cars in front. M-Racer gets a bad corner though, and may offer Tom an unorthodox attempt, maybe going through into the penultimate corner.
Yeah, might do. Tom coming through the right-hand of turn 13. Luke spotted out very well in the chat as well. Shizou will get an extra point as a result of this as well. He's currently got the fastest lap as Tom, 29.805, 5 tenths clear of everyone else. But Kai has now got him to set us off, so that might get beaten. So that might swing PSR's way. Speaking of PSR's way, Smokey on the back once again down in towards turn number 1. He's going to try and look for the move, maybe in towards turn 1, but I think everyone's just giving up for the final 4 laps of the race. Big leg spike in towards turn number 1. Nearly catches Tom out actually in towards turn number 1. He was very late on the brakes there, and then Racer all of a sudden is 4th, Tom there in 5th, and Tom is going to be on that ERS management right here, right now.
He's going to have to consider tyre management soon as well, because after around about 6 laps, these tyres really do not feel very good, and he's going to have to start thinking about getting some moves done. Otherwise, the tyres are not going to have enough grip, and therefore he won't even have any, never mind not have the straight line speed. You can see already it's starting to go sideways already on these tyres. These tyres are not at their best anymore, and this is what I mean. He can get on the soft tyres as much as you want, but you've got to use them up early on. But because he's got no ERS, he can't use them, and now they are burning out. So now he's going to start falling potentially into the clutches of Black Box if things go really bad and things go potentially awry for Tom.
Yeah, and Fezzle, to be honest, at the front of this train is beginning to gap Smokey all of a sudden. Oh, he's a bit sideways there, coming out of the left-hander of turn number 10. But Fezzle was absolutely cooking out on track. He's doing a fantastic job. Tom in the background looking on M-Racer again. Not quite close enough, but Smokey's on the back foot here. He's got more ERS as a spinner, and that is Elite... Sorry, that is Harry round. Shazoo Harry is round. Coming to the right-hander at turn number 11. That's unfortunate for him. Toody's retired in the pit lane as well. Unfortunately, no safety cars going to be coming out at this point in the race. But Shazoo now, potentially what could have been a twice top 10 finish with both of their drivers, has now gone up in flames.
Yeah, massive, because look where Outplayed Racing are after their really poor start. They're now both in the double points. So that little battle for P3, Outplayed Racing are going to be able to at least extend their gap on Team Shazoo. And while this is all happening, VSR at one point, we're only having one driver get the points in M-Racer in 4th place. We've still got a yellow flagged wave in that first sector. But as it stands at the moment, it does look like to me that Team Shazoo are now only going to have one driver of their own. And guess what? It's Shazoo Tom, and he's stuck behind that VSR driver on soft tyres because he's got no ERS. So what could have turned out to be a really good race for Team Shazoo versus VSR is now just going to be losing a couple of points.
It is, and Tom, yeah, his set of softs, I was a little bit 50-50, to be honest, in terms of his strategy. I thought at the time it was a really good strategy call, and I thought he was going to get on the back, but the ERS management has been his real downfall in this race. If he saved it better, Ives has taken the fastest lap point off him as well. Fastest lap point, of course, does not go outside of the top 10, so therefore he will not be picking up that fastest lap point, which means Tom does not get that fastest lap whatsoever, so he's now back stuck on 10 points. He's still looking on the back of M-Racer. He looks a little bit more tidy, I've got to say, in terms of his ERS. M-Racer just missed the curb there slightly as well, and Smokey all of a sudden, a little bit sideways at the final corner. He's now on the front foot, maybe to try and get the move done on Fezzo. We could get 2x2 Noah's Ark at least from one of them. Smokey to the inside line, and Fezzo on the penultimate lap of the race tries to fake the move. He has to go for the move though to the inside line. Tom's very late on the brakes in the back end as well, but Smokey through and he's into P2. Tom can't manage the move on M-Racer, but this final 2 laps is going to go literally hell for leather.
Well, absolutely. We've got an issue with Shazoo Tom, though, with his tyres now beginning to become a bit slidey throughout the corners, and he's understeering a bit as well now. I wonder if those soft tyres are now beyond any kind of racing capability, and that may mean that Shazoo are actually going to lose points in the end in that battle with VSR, which looks very much like Shazoo we're going to be actually taking P4 out of the hands of Visceral Racing tonight. Now it looks like they're keeping on to it with that Harry spin on the 26th lap. Going into the 28th lap on the 29th, asking here, looks like Smokey is now beginning a real big push here, and now of course Juventus Racing still want to hold on to the podium, so all Fezzo needs to do is stay in the DRS territory of Smokey. It's all he needs to do, and Juventus will take a podium and 15, very, very big 15 points here for Juventus Racing in the standings.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm literally trying to work out the points as well. As it stands out on track, Rudy will be taking 25, obviously. Tom would be taking 10, Black Box would be taking 8, so that's 33 points. Smokey 18. I call that about a 8-point swing in favour of Talent Factory to retake the lead in terms of the championship, but we've still got the final lap to go. Everything now just beginning to string itself out from the front, guys, so it looks like we might be getting the positions as they are. But you never know with Tom. He could absolutely lunge a move in towards turn number 4 if he wanted to, and he could probably try and get the job done as well while he does that. But in the end, he's just too much on the back foot now, and it looks like we're beginning to see the position sort itself out, apart from maybe Asicum and Risks, who could be an interesting battle further down.
So just keeping an eye on that battle at the moment with Juventus Racing's Fezzo as he looks to try and get closer to Smokey. He'll want to hope for P2, but he'll be very happy with P3 indeed, and what has been a great performance, and definitely not just driver of the day, but as I said, driver of the weekend. He's been absolutely fantastic to watch as Juventus Racing's Fezzo has really put a challenge on to the front runners in this track, and Juventus will be so happy they fielded him tonight because they're going to be on for some really big points. It will, though, give us an opportunity as we just quickly monitor the rest of those drivers all around the field to take a very quick look at the battle, which never really happened. TF Rudy, he hasn't been given any airtime at all because he's been just so far ahead of everyone else, and what a performance it has been from the Talent Factory drivers, using up all his ERS to his absolute limit so he could try and get the fastest lap off the hands. It's not going to be happening on this occasion, but a great performance nonetheless from Talent Factory, and Rudy, who will take a very, very comfortable win here tonight in Bahrain. He takes a cracking victory indeed. Smokey, in the end, will finish in P2 with Juventus Racing finally getting a podium on the mark here. They're so happy with that performance, and Fezzo gets P3. Race will finish in P4. Tom will be disappointed in the end with P5. Black Box will be disappointed, I think, with P6. Talent Factory will take that final point here. Oh, and takes that final standing. Let's just keep an eye on Asicome as well. Good battle between them here as Allison will finish in 10th and Gilly in 11th. Talent Factory will retake the lead in the championship, but it will be a question from Talent Factory of what if. They could have had more points on the board, but Talent Factory's Black Box was only able to scrape together 8 points with 6th place. Kai at the back will get the fastest lap, but the point, of course, will go to Tom. He's in the top, who is in the top 10. But a great performance nonetheless from Kai to get that fastest lap on what has been a very difficult race for PSR with Kai. They tried to manage that one, but in the end, they managed to damage limitate somewhat with Black Box, but they still won't lead the championship as far as my maths makes out.
Yeah, I believe it's 8 points, if I'm not mistaken, between Talent Factory and PSR in favour of Talent Factory as Kai comes through the final corner to finish in 16th. Le Griffin in the end. NRX, I don't think even got a mention really in this commentary. I think from their perspective, just so disappointing. From the NRX perspective, they were a very good team, of course, on Xbox, and still are, of course, on Xbox. But in the end, in Legacy Division, they just have not thrived. Elite Risks get driver of the day, ordered by the in-game fans. I think there's only one man making it too, and that's Faisal, the Phantom P3, the French Wonder Kid, comes out in 3rd. But in the end, Talent Factory Rudy comes out on top. And I did say he was dominant around to an email Premier. He backed that up.
He absolutely did, and he'll be very happy indeed to take the top step of the podium. And of course, the big trophy for the Talent Factory driver as they managed to retake the lead in the championship. Of course, this is pending any student inquiries. Of course, we only made note of one particular incident on stream. We do know that there was a couple of others around there, so keep an eye out on our Twitter at WOR League _. But there is the trophy for Rudy, and what has been a very comfortable race victory in the end for the Talent Factory driver. In the end, though, it is a solid P2 for PSR Smokey in their damage limitation race, of course, with Kai with that front wing damage. And what a 3rd place in the end for Juventus Racing. They get a cracking 15 points, and the 15 points that are desperately needed as well in that battle for 6th, 7th and 8th place in the championship. Let's take a look at the very provisional results then at the end of that race. Talent Factory take the victory here tonight alongside Smokey in 2nd place. The top 2 finishing exactly where they started, with Fezzo from 5th to 3rd. What a performance for Juventus Racing. VSR will finish with 4th place in M-Racer, and then Shazoo Tom in a disappointing 5th place. That soft tie strategy just did not work. Black Box in 6th. Mubarak, Elite Risk, Asicum and Allison rounding out the top 10. And of course from the top 10 down it is Gilly, Harry, Diogo Silva, Francesco, Nigrel, Kai, and then Le Griff. The drivers finishing this race with a DNF. It's Judy, Zanetti, and Dan Spreen. What a performance in the end, though, then, James. We had a fantastic race in Bahrain. So happy with that performance in the end. And I've got to say, in the end, we're looking forward to what I think is going to be a very, very good set of events ahead of us. 3 races to go.
3 races to go indeed, and I really hope, for the sake of Talent Factory and PSR, they keep it clean out on track, because that just proved Rudy was an absolute goat around Bahrain. Next week, of course, if I get the calendar up very quickly indeed, I believe we are going to be going to Abu Dhabi next week. So that is a track, again, that I think is going to favour more Talent Factory. But then again, the PSR race that I saw around there, the console Tier 1 race that I saw around there, in fact, it was absolute chaos. So anything could happen in Abu Dhabi. Regardless, though, really took the win with an absolute dominant display. And in the end, Fezzo, well, he could be just the next best thing that the PS platform has to offer. And I'm all for it.
I absolutely am all for it as well, to be fair. We are going to be in for a very interesting set of a race. I think it's worth also bringing up as well that we are going to be in for a spectacular set of events after Abu Dhabi, of course, because we've got Brazil, and then we finish the season in Saudi Arabia for the final set of events here in WRLD. We are going to be continuing our season on Friday nights for the foreseeable. The final 3 races will be taking place for the next Friday nights, the final 3 Friday nights, before we move on to another brand new game, F1 23, a new game cycle ahead of us. But in the meantime, we've got a championship to decide, and it's still very much up for grabs. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week in Abu Dhabi.